Race Weekend is brought to you by Phoenix Fuels.
Make every trip come alive with Phoenix Fuels, now with Pulse technology.
The 8-hour Philippine Endurance Challenge at the Clark International Speedway may be the perfect culminating race for the 2018 motorsport season. The teams and drivers participating in this event consider it one of the most prestigious motorsports events of the year. And it may just be true. Up next on Race Weekend, highlights of perhaps the toughest race to win in local motorsports.
Another race to slay here at the Clark International Speedway, and this time it's the 8-hour Philippine Endurance Challenge. Let's go check it out. Endurance races, whether the 4-hour, 8-hour, or 12-hour variety, have now become one of the favorite and sought-after forms of motorsports events. Teams participating in local grassroots racing, from one-make events like the Vios Cup and even the new Formula V1 Challenge, to the long-standing series like Flat Out Race Series, Colorcross and Slalom, all take part in this year's Enduro races. In the middle of this year, there was the 4 Oras ng Pilipinas and the Kalayaan Cup 12-hour race. Run simultaneously, the two endurance races saw a 23-car grid at the start of the race. Some signed up for the 4-hour race, others entered to attempt to complete as many laps as they can over 12 hours. And in a fitting end to what is one of the most eventful years for four-wheel circuit racing, 32 entries signed up for the 2018 8-hour Philippine Endurance Challenge. The 32-car grid flagged off at exactly 8:39.30 in the morning of December 2, 2018 for 8 hours of racing at the 4.2-kilometer Clark International Speedway. The race ended 8 hours, 1 minute and 2.939 seconds later when the leading number 1 car of the TRS Formula V1 team completed its 186th lap. Crossing the line a little past the 8-hour mark to complete their 182nd lap were the number 2 car of Team Helix Ultra 1 and the number 5 car of Auto Performance Victor Hardware. The car separated by just 20.079 seconds. The number 2 car, composed of Estefano Rivera, Paulo Santos, and Andre Tan, emerged on top and named this year's PEC overall champion. In between the start and end of the race was an intriguing and dramatic mix of wheel-to-wheel racing and strategic pit stops for fuel and change of drivers. Each car entry must have at the minimum 3 drivers who alternate behind the wheel. The 8 Oras ng Pilipinas had perhaps one of the biggest grids to start a race this year, attesting to its popularity among local motorsport teams and drivers, as well as the prestige of winning, earning a podium finish, and just completing the crew-wheeling race. We caught up with the winners and finishers to get to understand why they look forward to the endurance races. I'm here with Auto Performance team principal, Mr. Francis Aguila, to tell us more about their participation in the 8-hour endurance challenge. Hi Francis, thank you for joining us.
Hi Wee, thanks for having me.
So can you just give the viewers an idea of how it is to join the 8-hour endurance challenge?
Endurance racing, usually they call that the most difficult kind of motorsport, simply because it's not just how fast you are, how reliable your car is, and the teamwork of the whole crew. So for me anyway, this is probably the most enjoyable of all motorsports.
I see. So what did it take for you guys to join this particular league?
Well, first, number 1 is a good crew. In our case, for example, we had to rebuild an engine overnight. They had maybe 7-8 hours to rebuild the engine from scratch, but they were able to do it, and they got us on the racetrack. So number 1 is really the crew. Number 2 are the drivers. I'm fortunate to have really great teammates: Stefan Ramirez, Georgia Pasible, SJ Park. You know, guys who not just are fast, but they also help the team out in other ways as well. And then, of course, the rest of the crew, team managers, so Easy Ligaya, the entire team. It's really a teamwork-based motorsport.
Okay, so you mentioned this is a league for you guys. So can you give the viewers an idea of how different it is, since it's not just about speed, it's not just about precision?
In most motorsports, you really look after a lap time. It has to be this exact lap time and you have to do this number. In endurance racing, you're counting number of laps, right? So even if your lap times are not that fast, as long as you're consistent, as long as you're reliable, if you can keep the number of pit stops down, keep your time in the pits down, then you have a chance to be very successful.
So are you looking forward already to the next 8-hour endurance challenge?
Well, we have about an hour left, so I don't want to look ahead. We're going to look forward to finishing the race strong. Hopefully we get a good position this time. But definitely, Martin will be back next year. And like I said, this is, for me, the most enjoyable type of motorsport.
All right, thank you very much, Francis.
Thank you, thanks so much.
Stefan Ramirez revealed how the Auto Performance Victor Hardware team had prepared for the Philippine Endurance Challenge events even as early as the first month of the year.
We did quite a bit. Starting of January alone, we were already setting up, trying to think of what we can do to improve the car, but at the same time keep it reliable. And we were able to practice quite a bit, but we also had quite a bit of engine issues, so that kind of slowed things down. But overall, we made it, we finished, so we're happy about that.
Stefan also revealed one other secret for the team's better result in the endurance races this year.
We have a big tank, so we played it to our strength, which was being consistent. So always just hitting the same laps every time and trying to keep the fuel load at a certain level. Thankfully, it got us through, so we're quite happy about that.
One particular enduro race enthusiast is Paulo Bautista, one of the drivers of the number 29 car of the TJR Mom and Dad Racing team competing in the FM3 class. Paulo Bautista's team completed 135 laps, although they did not complete the full 8 hours. An impressive result considering the constraints of a team supported chiefly by, as the team name implies, their moms and dads.
For me, I think this is the most awaited race in the country, the most prestigious one. So being able to just join is a huge privilege already, especially now that since we lack sponsors. As you can see, it's Mom and Dad Racing. We are funded by our parents only.
Perhaps adding to the prestige of the 8 Hours ng Pilipinas is the participation of Emily Duggan, one of Australia's leading female drivers, who burst into the Australian motorsport scene in 2014 and by 2017 finished 4th in the Championship of 2017 Series X3 New South Wales after finishing 5th in 2016. In 2018, Emily leveled up to the race in the Toyota 86 Racing Australia.
I am so honoured to be invited here by Smart Fuels to race in the Filipinos 8-hour endurance challenge. It's such a great track, the cars are amazing. It is just an absolute honour to be here. I think the biggest counter is mental preparation. You mentally have to be prepared to sit in the race seat and drive for prolonged periods of time.
After the grueling 8 hours of racing, all are still looking forward to next year's editions of the Philippine Endurance Challenge.
Well, actually, as I got out of the car, we've talked already about our plans for next year on what car we're going to use. Yeah, as early as that.
Yeah, hopefully I get invited back by Smart Fuels and we can do it all over again. So we got pole position here this year and we got pole position last year as well. So we just need to make sure that the car is reliable, which the guys do a tremendous job doing, so I can't thank them enough. And we'll come back next year and hopefully wrap it up.
For next year, well, we hope to have another car, so we hope to be a bigger team. And hopefully, that's pretty much it.
And that ends our coverage of this year's 8-hour Philippine Endurance Challenge here at the Clark International Speedway. My name is Ray Louis Gamboa. Thanks for joining us and see you next week.
The 8-hour Philippine Endurance Challenge is turning out to be one of the most awaited motorsports events of every year. it certainly gives winners bragging rights that they can exercise for virtually the whole of next year until it's time for the next endurance run.
This week's feature on Race Weekend has been brought to you by Phoenix Fuels.
Make every trip come alive with Phoenix Fuels, now with Pulse technology. These are the Fuel Masters. Every time they're on the court, it's high performance. Every time I'm on the road, I can also expect high performance from Phoenix Fuels. We made it! The next generation Phoenix Fuels, now with Pulse technology, delivers enhanced power and acceleration to make every trip come alive.